Hello, good evening to my dear respected members, dear students, learners, and aspirants. Today, I want to share a little bit regarding to the APPS. First of all, it's important to know the APPS, Acute Phase Proteins. Acute phase proteins are mainly plasma proteins and they are synthesized into the liver. It's mean the synthesis site is the liver. These acute phase proteins precipitate out during the inflammatory conditions from their normal level. It its level may be 50 to 1000 fold. Higher the level of acute phase proteins, we can assess the severity of disorder or inflammation. In other words, we can say they are inflammatory proteins. Mean if any type of inflammation will be inside our body, whether it is due to the infection of microartery or due to the destruction of tissue, organ, etc., inside our body, these plasma proteins, these plasma proteins, level of these plasma proteins alter. In other words, we can say acute phase proteins are such type of proteins whose concentration increases or decreases in plasma in response to the inflammatory responses. It's not necessary that all the acute phase proteins will be in enhancing mode. Mean all the acute, it's not necessary that all the acute phase proteins will increase during the inflammatory response. Few decreases also. On the basis of this one, we have two types of acute phase proteins. One we can say positive acute phase proteins and another we can say negative acute phase proteins. Positive acute phase proteins means such type of proteins which will increase or which concentration will be enhanced during the inflammatory condition. The important positive acute proteins are one of the most important is CRP, C-reactive proteins. This is one of the most important and common proteins which precipitate out during the inflammatory condition. It may enhance from 50 to 1000 fold. So, on the basis of its increase in concentration, we can know the severity of the disorder, severity of the disease. And another thing is this, by assessment of this one, by assessment of this one, we can also assess the prognosis of the disease. So, the CRP is one of the most important positive acute proteins. One thing. Besides the C-reactive proteins, others are haptoglobin, mainly synthesized into the liver, and they are also responsible for the degradative hemoglobin from blood. It's also precipitate out during the inflammation. Another is alpha antitrypsin. This is also important inflammatory, we can say biomarker, which will precipitate out during the, we can say respiratory disorder, such as the emphysema, lung cancer. In these cases, they enhance. So important positive acute phase proteins are CRP, haptoglobin, antitrypsin, ferritin, etc. and etc. Amyloid SS. Same way, there is negative acute proteins. Negative acute proteins, we can say, such type of proteins whose concentration from normal level is going to decrease from their normal level. Whenever the inflammatory actions are inflammatory responses are happening. So, in negative acute phase proteins, the important one is very common, that is the albumin. As we know, it is responsible for the maintenance of the osmotic or colloidal uh, properties of the blood volume or blood plasma. So albumin, pre-albumin, transferrin, RBP, these are the negative acute phase proteins. In positive acute proteins, the ceruloplasmin, fibrinogen, complements, these are the other important examples whose concentration enhances during the inflammatory condition. Uh, Whenever we are going to estimate out the CRP in plasma, if the concentration of this one is going to enhance, then it has been seen in case of rheumatoid arthritis, myocardial infarctions, and neoplastic conditions. So CRP and antitrypsin, these two are very common, we can say very common positive phase proteins. During the COVID-19, it has been observed one acute phase protein also, that was the hyperferritinemia. Mean during the investigation, it has been observed that in most of the cases, the concentration of the iron was more than 500 microgram per liter. So in COVID-19, it was observed hyperferritinemia is also a type of acute phase protein. In this way, we can say the acute phase proteins are important plasma proteins. With the help of investigation of that one, we can take the idea of inflammation, severity of the inflammation, as well as severity of the diseases. And whenever we are going to investigate during its treatment, it also help regarding to the prognosis of the disorder also. So thank you very much. It was little bit regarding to the acute phase proteins. We will meet in next video. Thank you. Namaskaram.